Don't blame it on sunshine. Don't blame it on the moonlight. Don't blame it on the good times. Blame it on the boogie. Don't blame it on the sunshine. Sunshine, moonlight, moonlight. Boogie's got me in a super trance. You just got that sunshine, yeah. Moonlight, good times, good times.
I forgot the intro. I forgot the intro was a little bit shorter.
Right.
So,
But you here, brother?
Anyway,
What's up,
we
fellas?
here. Welcome to the Blame It on the Boogie podcast. It is me. Although you don't see me, I'm still here. And
Rise
we
on
gonna
location.
roll. We gonna roll like we always do. Today we have with us. I can't even see because I'm driving, y'all.
Oh,
But I know
Lord.
I got Dorian, the Almighty, the Wonder Mouse Brown on the line. I got Dante, Geisha Dan Dash on the line, and of course you got me, Rod D, right here. Let's go back
Where you at, Rod?
because
Where you at, Rod?
because
On location?
I'm just right now I'm in the middle of Indiana somewhere. I'm just rolling. I'm just rolling, trying to get home.
So we try some Migos tonight. All right. Shout out to dudes that couldn't make it to join us
Shout
tonight.
out to D-Dub. Shout out to D-Dub. He couldn't make it tonight, but we're going to roll on like we always do.
So what
I'm
episode
going to
is
let
this?
y'all lead all the stuff. This is episode number 2, Trey. Michael Jordan, 23.
Oh, yeah.
Season 2, episode 3.
Season
Okay, that
two.
makes
D don't like that, but hey, he got to roll with it.
So, in other words, Dorian, I think this is running count episode 36, 37. I don't know. But yeah,
Look,
those
see,
three.
that's why it's easier to just say season 2, episode 3.
Episode 3. Yeah, Rodney got to be all extra. But before we get started,
Season 2,
y'all,
episode
we'll
3.
do a few reminders out there for those of y'all that don't know where to find us. You can get us at From the Boogie on YouTube. And of course, it's going to bring y'all to Blame It on the Boogie. And then don't forget, check out our podcast, BIOTB podcast, Blame It on the Boogie podcast.com. And then if you want to shout out, say something to us, which we would love, we would appreciate, hit us up right there at the email, boogieblaming@gmail.com. And as always, we like to start off the show with Brother D Almighty out there with Richmond. Y'all know normally we would start with some quick blurbs and everything. But today, we got something a little different. We're going to call it just for shits and giggles. Some stupid sports stories. Some may be sad or whatever. But we definitely want to start the show off today with the Nutty Professor, because this is definitely nutty.
No, wait till listen.
What's this all about, Dory? Tell us about, Rodney, you're going to enjoy this on the road. Tell us about squirting, the art of squirting. Please explain, sir.
I find myself scrolling, falling into, because the dudes, shout out to DOOZE, the Mighty Mike Control. But I find myself falling down the rabbit hole because dudes is always sending us these memes and these videos
Every morning.
and so I read every morning, brighter, because dudes is in the military, so he get up at 5. By 6 o'clock, dudes is sending messages and memes and videos. So anyway, so I'm tumbling down the rabbit hole on TikTok, I believe it was. Make sure y'all check out TikTok, subscribe, follow us, become friends with us on TikTok. But anyway, and it was the part of the Kelsey Brothers show. And they were talking about squirting. And I was like, what are they talking about? But then I realized after a minute that what they were talking about was how, they have the assistants on the sidelines who run around and, because people were asking them, why don't they squirt themselves? And so that just tumbled down the rabbit hole of making these innuendos and analogies and all these things about squirting. It was hilarious. And it really reminded me of Dante and the Gourd.
And the gourd.
What me and the gourd have to do with squirting? There was nothing. My gourd gives up no liquid.
Because you had no
First he
idea.
tried to blame it on
what he
dudes.
was
Y'all heard
talking
that?
about.
He tried to blame the story on dudes. That's where he got it from. Then he trying to put it off on my gourd. I don't get the analogy of squirting the water bottle on my gourd.
That's what it reminded me of, was that whole thing with the gourd, which just made it even more hilarious. And I was cracking up laughing. So shout out to the Kelsey brothers. They are funny. You can definitely tell that they are brothers. They are funny together. But that had me cracking up laughing. And we wish we could probably show a clip of it, but we might get sued.
I did. No, I actually had the safe clip forward. I should have loaded it. I forgot to load it up because I was still baffled by that. But speaking of squirting, if you thought that was funny, I mean, you can't have squirting without this next story that Rod's about to share with us in regards to one New England wide receiver. So you can't have squirting without Boutte. Rod, please explain what went down with New England Patriots wide receiver Kayshon Boutte.
Well, Mr. Kayshon Boutte, or Boutte, however you want to say it, a rookie wide receiver for the New England.
Whichever one goes with squirt the best, Rod. That's how you pronounce the Boutte. But anyway, go ahead.
Mr. Boutte is a rookie wide receiver with the New England Patriots. He went to Louisiana State, and apparently the brother came across some extra money. I don't know what happened. But between April of 2022 and May of 2023, 13 months, the brother made 8,900 bets. Illegal bets because he was underage.
How many?
Today, 8,900.
Oh, and he was underage. You got to be 21 to bet, don't you?
Well, it depends on what state. Gambling, yeah. Oh, so where was he arrested? What's the age? Was this because he was underage in Louisiana, Rob, where most of the bets were placed? I'm assuming.
No. Oh, underage, but he also bet on NCAA football, and worst ever, he bet on team Louisiana State.
Well, hell, 8,900 bets you bet on your own team.
Oh, I get it. He was betting while he was at LSU.
Yes.
Okay.
While at LSU.
So I'm thinking he was betting while he was a Patriot. Oh, he was betting while at LSU. Wow.
Oh, no. While at LSU. And he had an intricate scheme because he was using multiple accounts. But he didn't really think about the fact that these computers have IP addresses.
Yep.
And they can trace them. So they trace them all right to him.
Trace from your phone. You can trace.
Needless to say, brother ain't gonna be in the league that much longer.
His booty won't be in the league.
He won't be in the league that much longer. No. Mr. Boutte gonna be on the sideline aggressive. Actually, let me quit. I got my pass in the car. I ain't gonna say all that.
I have a question, Rod. This is what's shocking to me. So Rodney, as he stated, this occurred while he was at LSU. How are they just finding out right now when we talked about all these other kids and players that got popped for illegal gambling in previous episodes from like last year? What took the NFL this long to find out that this guy placed 8,900 bets?
No, they've been investigators for the last year, and today they went ahead and filed charges against the brother. So yeah, he about to his Boutte is going to jail, and that ain't a good thing.
So it took the authorities a year for their investigation. All right, guys, there's your baseline. So anybody want to do any illegal betting, you got at least a year to make your bag and get the hell out of Dodge. I guess as we learned from Mr. Boutte. So as Rod said, he'll probably be going to jail and probably be giving up the Boutte. But moving right on along, sad story to report.
Yeah. This was sad for me. For all of us college football fans, one of the great things about pregame for the University of Georgia is when Uga runs on the field before the game. But this week, sad to report that Uga X has gone to be with Uga 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and 9. So RIP to Uga X. He will be missed. He served valiantly for 3 years.
Silence.
Moment of silence.
All right, that's enough, Uga. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
What you're seeing, the next Uga 11. So, sad story. As a dog lover myself, dog owner, I know Dorian has a dog. Pet lovers grew up loving animals, so that's why we put that on there. And like you said, mascots. Teams have a bunch of mascots, but Ugas, all the Ugas are obviously renowned. Like I said, that was number 10. Does anybody know how do they find? How do they recruit their dogs? They go to the.
I think they breed them.
Do they?
Yeah, they breed specifically for Uga.
Yeah, they all Uga they all have the same.
That's cool. So they all in the same
lineage.
Yeah, the same.
All in the same lineage. Oh, okay, that's awesome. I was like, did they just go to like the the vet or whatever and go find to the kennel and just go find a dog and they smile? But that's interesting. I did not know that they actually breed their own.
Uga's like the Prince of England.
Oh,
he falls in the has a same little lineage.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. Okay. Well, shout out to Uga. Well, before we get into topics of discussion today, fellas, as Rodney would always like to say, we need y'all to do what? Hit us up and don't forget, one more reminder for those that have been trying to find us and reaching out is at From the Boogie on YouTube. Even though we blame it on the Boogie, that's how you find us on YouTube. Don't forget that at symbol, at From the Boogie, y'all. But anyway, fellas, let's get right on into it. A lot to cover, a lot of topics of discussion, but we're going to start off in football as we left off last week with the coaching carousel. Any surprises from you, Rodney? Let's start off. Instead of surprises, I'll help you out, Rodney, because I know you're on the road. What do you think of Morgan? What you think about Dan Morgan as GM in Carolina? So the question that we're posing.
Is that the Dan Morgan that played linebacker?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The linebacker for
the former linebacker for Carolina. So
did he play for Carolina?
Yeah. For those of y'all that don't know, Dan Morgan. Yeah. For those of y'all that don't know, he was hired as the GM for Carolina Panthers this past week. And obviously, and the question being, Rodney, so the question is, with them hiring a defensive-minded former player and as GM, what does this mean for the Panthers offense as far as them rebuilding?
Well, today they hired who was that? Was that the defensive coordinator from Tampa Bay, wasn't it? I think he went defense also with his hire. So
his head coach is going to be a defensive coordinator. I didn't see that story. Who they hired down there?
Yeah, okay, I can't. Well, every time I change my phone off the podcast, I mute myself, so I can't go back and look. But check it out, D. You on like 5 computers right now.
Researching right here. Dorian's
on Mr. Researcher. Who did they hire today?
Who did? You talking about the head coaches?
Yes, Carolina hired. They just hired their head coach also. and I think it was a defensive coordinator from Tampa.
They had Dave Canales. That's who I was talking about earlier.
Okay, Dave Canales.
He was let's see. No, he was Tampa Bay's OC.
Offensive coordinator. Okay, so Dan Morgan, he went with on the offensive side.
So he's addressing the offense. That's good to see.
But I wouldn't expect anything less though, because I'm quite sure that part of his job, and again, being following Carolina, and being a former player, so obviously he follows Carolina. He understands that he needs to come in and do something with Bryce Young. They just drafted that young man #1. So you better hire somebody that's gonna come in and develop him, or you're gonna be like the last head coach. So I guess that doesn't surprise me that they hired an offensive guy to be head coach.
Well, here's a question then on that point. Same point, Dorian. They brought in the OC from Tampa Bay, Canales. Okay, I can see that. I'm going to say, what really has Tampa Bay done in that garbage division they were in? But I can understand why they would go get him because of the season that Baker Mayfield had. That's the only reason why I think they hired him.
He turned Baker around.
I don't say turn Baker around. Baker wasn't really bad.
Baker was bad, bro. Baker was bad.
I never thought Baker was bad. When he had good people around him, he took Cleveland to the playoffs.
Yep.
So Baker was that. But the thing about Baker, and this is what I was about to say, that's very interesting about the fact that we saying that Canales got that job because of what he did with Baker Mayfield. But now what's about to happen again to Baker Mayfield in another contract year? Baker Mayfield is about to be on another offensive coordinator.
Yep.
Look at how many. So now for Tampa, do I give Baker Mayfield the bag because he played well when I'm bringing in a whole new offensive system? How do I know that offensive system is going to work for Baker Mayfield? Because am I going to base my whole offense around Baker Mayfield? So that's.
But what are your other options though? Who else do they have? I say, who else can they get?
Who? Tampa at quarterback
at quarterback. Who else can Tampa get?
I'm not have a high draft pick. Anybody. I'm just saying the thought. That's the thought. You got to think about that now in coming into this year, because Baker Mayfield is a contract year, right? So this being a contract year for Baker Mayfield, you bringing in a new offensive coordinator, right? And so how you have to begin to look at, okay, so do I want to keep Baker Mayfield with this new offensive coordinator, or do I want to go get try to get a draft up, whatever, however you want to look at it, go up in the draft, try to get a quarterback. That's kind of the dilemma that Tampa is in, because if you give Baker Mayfield and pay Baker Mayfield, then you expected Baker Mayfield to start. So that again, that's just kind of, it seems like a very interesting dilemma that Tampa Bay is now in, because the guy who turned Baker Mayfield around left. And so now here comes Baker Mayfield with a whole new system that he has to learn again. Can he thrive again? Will this system allow him to thrive? That's all. Because I'm with Dante. I don't think Baker Mayfield has been that bad. I think he's played on bad teams, but when he's had good players, as anybody does, he's played very well, and played very well for his team.
So my thing on that with Baker, and again going back to Baker, hasn't played bad. Again, they went to the playoffs. They won their division. Granted, it was a garbage division. So when you look at that division and the quarterbacks that are in that division, Baker Mayfield is the best quarterback in that division, and he deserves the bag that he's going to get. Now, what that bag is going to get, I think who set the baseline, who was that? Davis. Who was the Giants quarterback?
David
Jones. Jones.
Daniel Jones. So I think it's like 40 million. So I would use Daniel Jones as the baseline at what his salary is. We know Baker Mayfield is better than him. And so it would be, for me, it would make sense for Tampa Bay, which they don't have a high draft pick. It would make sense to trade away to get unproven quarterback. And right now, Baker Mayfield probably sits at the top of the veteran free agent quarterbacks that are going to be available. So it would make sense for them to let him go, let him walk, and then bring in some other garbage quarterback that we've been talking about all year, even though they have a new offensive coordinator. So I think the bigger question is if Tampa Bay were to let Baker Mayfield go, that's going to be basically telling us that they're scrapping the whole squad. They're finna start rebuilding. That's all that's going to say.
I agree. I agree.
The second thing, the point that you brought up with where he came from, again, guys, we're seeing this same recycling, retread of certain individuals as coaches. You see what I'm saying? So we're going to get to that a little bit more. But so cool. So at least he got an offensive coordinator. But I mean, Mike Evans, isn't this his last season in Tampa as well?
Hey, the way Mike Evans is, the way he started that game the other day, dropping 3 straight passes.
I think he want to get out of there, Rodney.
I think he wants to go.
Okay.
Why? Because he got Baker Mayfield as his quarterback.
But it wasn't Baker, Rodney. To me, it sounds like you keep trying to make Baker like he was bad.
Nah, Baker was who Baker was. He was a middle of the pack quarterback.
He was a middle of the pack quarterback. So yeah, Baker was throwing, like you just said. It wasn't Baker dropping his own passes. It was Mike Evans, and that could be a sign too. It wasn't that he doesn't like Baker Mayfield. They were fighting to win that game. I think he's just tired of the environment. Mike Evans needs to change. To go to another contender somewhere. He would be a top sought after wide receiver if he gets into the free agent market. So for me, I think they're gonna revamp down in Tampa Bay.
Evans is entering the final year of a 5-year, $82.5 million extension that he signed in March of 2018.
Okay,
how old is Evans?
For the year of Baker and Evans.
Let's see, Evans
like 32.
Is he that old?
I'm asking. How old is he?
Man, I don't know.
But again, gentlemen, it goes back to why would you get rid of if you're Tampa Bay, probably the better quarterback in that division right now. He's better than Bryce Young. He's better than your boy down in New Orleans that came from the Raiders. I forgot his name. He's getting so old. He wasn't bad. And then what's the other garbage down there? In Atlanta. Ritter, they're all gone.
Atlanta doesn't have a quarterback. They
don't even have a quarterback. So Baker Mayfield probably is the number one quarterback in that division.
Here's the question. Going back to our conversation from last week. Our conversation from last week. Or Justin just trade for him with your first round pick?
You say what? Say it again. You broke up.
It sounded like something with Justin Fields. So that's a great segue. You did break up, Rodney. So speaking of that, if I heard you say Justin Fields, the question that's posed, the Bears poached the Seahawks offensive coordinator. What does this mean for Justin Fields? I believe that's what Rodney was alluding to with the Bears and Justin Fields. Where does he go? So we'll just segue into that, Rodney. With the Bears getting Seattle's offensive coordinator, and we saw what their offensive coordinator, we saw what their quarterback was able to do with their offensive coordinator. And Geno Smith got revitalized. So do you think Seattle's offensive coordinator going to the Bears means that Justin Fields will stay in Chicago now, Rodney?
Oh, no. I think that with them hiring the Seattle OC, that means Fields is gone because he doesn't do anything. Fields doesn't do anything that OC likes to do. So Fields is not a pocket passer. Geno Smith was a pocket passer. That's why that made it to me clear that they were going to go ahead and get rid of Fields and draft one of these. Either Williams or Drake May. I doubt if they go with.
Get him, Dorian. Get him, Dorian. I heard what he just said. Get him, Dorian.
How is Justin Fields going to be anything but a running quarterback when you're running for your life as soon as the ball is snapped? You never gave him how can he be a pocket passer? He's always running out the pocket.
If Geno Smith
as soon as somebody hiked the ball.
If Geno Smith was in Chicago and Rodney said he's a pocket quarterback, guess what, Rodney? Geno Smith will be running for his freaking life too. And he don't even hardly run no more.
The whole thing we've talked about this whole time is how Justin needs an offensive line.
Here's the question. Shut up. Here's the question. Listen. Close your mouth. Justin Fields, as soon as the ball is hiked, he runs. If the offensive line was so terrible, how is it that they can average so many yards rushing? How is it that when the other how is it when the horrible backup quarterback got in there, he was able to throw the ball? How is that possible? Justin Fields, the moment he's shell shocked, the moment he gets the ball, he wants to run. He's not a pocket passer. He's not a good quarterback.
Okay,
that's the reason why they're going to get rid of him.
If the backup was doing so great, why ain't they keep his ass in there?
Because they drafted Justin Fields. They're trying to find out what he is.
If the point is winning, and you got and you sucking anyway, you might as well go ahead and if the rookie or whoever is the backup is playing that well. If you're talking about winning, well then let him play and see what you got in the backup. If you claim that Justin Fields is so bad, but as soon as Justin Fields was healthy, the only reason that the backup was playing was because Justin Fields was hurt, not because he was playing bad. It was because he was hurt. And then they put the backup in. He played a couple of good games, and then they took his ass right out.
Okay.
Because Justin Fields is a better quarterback.
So the question was, with the OC coming from Seattle, they don't have the same OC they had in Chicago right now. They have Seattle's OC. That OC does not want to do what Justin Fields does.
Okay. So
that
you make Justin Fields stand in the pocket, take his 3-step drop, and hope that your wide receiver can do what Geno Smith and his wide receiver were doing in Seattle.
Why would I want to listen? Why would I want to hope that Justin Fields can stay in the pocket when I can get a quarterback that I know will stay in the pocket?
Okay, well, who's that quarterback? Who's that quarterback?
Why would you draft Williams?
I got the number one pick, bruh. I'm drafting the quarterback.
Why would you draft him? He runs too.
Exactly.
No, he runs. He can run. He is not a running quarterback.
Oh my God, Justin
Fields.
He's
a pocket quarterback.
Speaking of that, Rodney, let's not forget. Let's go back to Justin Fields at Ohio State. Justin Fields made more plays from the pocket. He didn't run all the time at Ohio State.
And since he's been in Chicago, what has he done?
Because of their coaching. So if you get an OC that forces him to stay back in the pocket like they did when he was in Ohio State,
which makes absolutely zero sense.
It's coaching, Rodney.
Why would I hope?
Coaches, and this goes back to my other point, gentlemen, not to cut you off, Rodney. We always put so much blame on the offensive coordinators when the quarterbacks, quote unquote, can't do this or can't do that. No, that's what the quarterback coach's job is to do. And with the new OC, to get Justin to stay in the pocket and throw. That's what the problem was with all the previous.
No. Listen.
And him to get players that will block for him so he's not running for his life.
Chicago's offensive line was not bad. They did not have a horrible offensive line. Yes, Justin Fields, when he dropped back, no. They did not have a horrible offensive line. You look at the metrics for Chicago's offensive line. They were in the middle. They did not have a horrible offensive line. What they had was a quarterback that was shell shocked. The moment he went back, only thing he can do is tap the ball twice and start running. That was the issue. He is not a pocket quarterback. You can't.
You get shell shocked as a quarterback.
And it's amazing.
You get shell shocked as a quarterback, Rodney. So that's why he was nervous back there, because every time they hiked the ball, somebody was in his face and he was getting hit. You act like he just started the game.
That was last year and the year before. That was not this year, D.
My God, so
and you know that.
Hold on. We're going to get off of Justin. we get to the same argument about Justin Fields.
Come on, man.
And it goes back to Rodney Upper saying he's not a pocket quarterback, but seems to forget.
He is not a good quarterback.
But that you seen him forget, Rodney, that's what he was in college. So when you get to pros, the teams change you. We've seen this too many times. Just like I use a perfect example from the Cam Newton. From Cam Newton.
You said that's what he was in college, right? Is he still playing in college?
Rodney.
Is he still playing in college? Yes or no? Exactly. He's playing in the pros, and he's not doing the stuff.
All his skills. Hold on, Rodney. You said he went shell shop. Basically, he lost all these skills in years of playing Ohio State as a pocket quarterback. And just because he got to the NFL, hold on, and the system that they run wasn't conducive, their pocket system, whether it be the offensive line or whatever, because remember, they also didn't have wide receivers into the trade last year, Rodney. You're trying to make it like he just forgot how to stay in the pocket and do a 3-step drop and pass the ball. I do not agree with that whatsoever. Again, it's the teams that you go to which affect, and the coaches which affect how players perform, because they want you to concede to the system they want. So we're going to get on that with Justin Fields. Hey, Rodney, put it like this. If the Bears do end up trading Justin Fields, they trade out of that pick, my guy, I'm buying you lunch. We've been going through this Justin Fields.
He is gone. Justin Fields is gone, bro. He's done. He's done. They're drafting either Caleb Williams or Drake May, and they're going to trade Justin Fields.
We don't know what they're going to do. We're all like in the same thing. That would be just ludicrous.
You know my predictions are always right. Come on now.
Stop it. I think you're 1 for 11.
Which takes us to the next thing.
Speaking of which, hey, this is where you were. Can Brian Callahan revitalize an aging Tennessee offense as the new head coach? You were just down there. Did you happen to run into Mr. Callahan, Rodney? Did you go get an interview?
So no, didn't do that. But when you asked the question earlier, what was the most shocking one? That's actually one of the more shocking hires because no one was talking about Callahan. The quote unquote pundits weren't talking about him. And then all of a sudden they announced that he was going to be coach. Matter of fact, for a long time, they were predicting the Lions DC was going to be Aaron Glenn was going to be in Tennessee, which and the issue with that is the Lions start winning.
Yep, they're still in the playoffs.
And when the Lions started winning, they're still in the playoffs. He couldn't interview, and then another dude got a chance to interview. They liked him, and now Aaron Glenn might not have a chair in the musical chairs.
Yeah, I just think it's not the irony of it. It just works out for the good old boy network. Again, this is just a perfect excuse to, again, hire another retread for another head coaching job and for a team that's going to be losing their running back. I don't know how long D-Hop. I think D-Hop signed for 1 year with them. D-Hop probably going to be out of there.
Yeah, he's a free agent.
Right.
He'll sign for the 1 year.
A rookie quarterback was going to be a second-year quarterback in Will Levis. You're going to be losing your star running back, your star wide receiver. Again, Tennessee is garbage. They've always been garbage since Jeff Fisher. Never had wide receivers, so I really don't care what Tennessee does. I can't believe they're giving Tennessee a new stadium. That just baffles me.
Hey man, Nashville is a beautiful city, bro.
I didn't say anything about the city of Nashville not being beautiful. I'm talking about
that's why they're getting a new stadium. That's why they're getting that stadium.
I understand that.
Down there is the NFL. Well, they have the Predators. I'm sorry. But I mean, but their biggest draw is going to be the Titans. I look at it a number of different ways. I think that what it shows is that that Tennessee is trying to build around Will Levis. They see a whole lot of rebuilding to do. Callahan. Oh yeah, they see Callahan and what he did essentially with Burrow. Right, that's basically.
I think it was more. What was the other quarterback? Your backup quarterback.
from Washington.
Browning.
Browning.
I think it was more what he did with Browning than what he did with Burrow, because he was able to take a quarterback that no one thought could do what he was able to do and make him good. So they figured, okay, we bring him down here with Levis. Maybe he can do the same thing and make Levis good.
But the thing though is that even though you talk about this idea of him being able to develop players, well, you got to think about the fact that he developed, or who you want to give credit to, unless you want to give it all to Zach Taylor about developing Burrow. Since Burrow's been, unless we're just saying that Burrow's just so good he didn't need development, man, we got to say the same thing about Jake Browning. Is maybe Jake Browning just good? I mean, he's not.
He just didn't have the opportunity.
Browning is good. I think that, but that really more strengthens my point about why Callahan ends up being the choice for Tennessee. They saw what he did, so they feel like they have the quarterback to start with. So what we're going to see them do in the draft and in free agency, we're going to see them get those other skill position players. They're going to find a running back somewhere because they've got a good offensive line. I mean, they've been blocking for this dude for I don't know how long, who's been one of the top rushers in the NFL. So they feel like they're going to running back by committee. It might be 2 running backs, but they feel like they can get running backs. They've got the offensive line to be able to do that. They feel that they've got a quarterback. And what we're also and Tennessee has really in many ways always been kind of either middle of the road or in the top 15 or so, which is kind of middle of the road, I guess, but maybe top 10 in defense. So they always generally play defense. But we're definitely going to see them because, like Dante was saying with D-Hop, they're definitely going to go out and find them a receiver somewhere. So I think that I see Tennessee seeing themselves in the same situation as the Houston Texans last year.
Real quick before we move on to that topic, Dorian, you said Tennessee going out trying to find a wide receiver next year. They would you won't see. He won't. This is just me. I don't see any top tier. And first of all, if you're a top tier wide receiver, you're going to be going for the bag. I don't see too many top tier receivers, especially ones, wanting to go play for Tennessee unless they really throw that bag. And I don't think he's going to give up the bag because they're building a new stadium.
But which is why they can give up the bag actually. But I because they're going to be speaking about season ticket sales and so on and so forth. But I'm not even necessarily talking about it doesn't have to be a free agent wide receiver. I think that that's what we're going to
rebuild the draft.
In the draft, we're going to see them go. I don't know what their tight end was like, or that kind of thing. But we're going to see them go a lot of offense because again, I think that they really see themselves, or I see them kind of in the same situation that Houston was in last year. Houston got them a quarterback. I think they see Will Levis as the quarterback, and they got that number 3 defensive player. And boom, look what happened with them this year. But that also says a whole lot about, the brother as a coach too, D'Amico Ryan as a coach, but we can talk about that later. But I think that's how Tennessee, for me, is kind of in that situation. They got the quarterback. Now they're going to see how well they can scout and get the talent at those other skill positions because the AFC South is a division that can be won.
It's a garbage division as well, especially Tennessee. We're moving on along, guys, to another coaching hire that we were definitely supporting and hope that would happen, and that's the Raiders and the Patriots. We're going to talk about the Raiders first. They both bet on black, avoid the retreads at head coach. Rod, what you think about our guy?
Don't forget about Atlanta.
We'll get to Atlanta in a second.
Don't forget about Atlanta now.
In Las Vegas.
But so Pierce is deserving. No, he took a team that was basically had given up on their coach, and I mean they weren't great. That's mainly because the Raiders' talent is not that great. They still don't have a quarterback. But he was able to go 5-4 with them at the end of the season. So the players like him. You see your boy Max Crosby even said that, hey, if Pierce is not the coach, then I don't want to be here. So the players really liked him. So give the brother a chance. let him continue to do what he's doing right now, and see how great he can be.
And then moving on the other side of the coast with Jared Mayo being hired as New England. I think we spoke about that last week. In particular, his comments that he made in regards to the race issue and the hiring practices. So we were talking about this just a second ago, Dorian, which actually segues into the story you're talking about, and that's who would want to play in New England, who would want to coach in New England. But I know one thing, nobody wants Bill Belichick, in particular, in Atlanta. So Atlanta, the Falcons, named their new head coach. And after all that courting, it wasn't Mr. Arthur Blank didn't hire, his good billionaire buddies, former head coach and Bill Belichick. He also went black. He hired Raheem Morris. Fellas, what y'all think about that? Dirty South again?
Go ahead, D.
Well, I was gonna say, also kind of to go back a little bit about the Raiders and the Patriots. They basically put in a succession plan for Jared Mayo with the Patriots. So they had started betting on black a while back, right? I'm not gonna say I didn't think that AP should be a head coach. I just wasn't sure because he had only been a linebacker coach and I hadn't heard his name come up in anything. So that was kind of surprising that he ended up with that job. But I'm happy for both of them. But with Raheem Morris, let me say that this has been a very interesting.
This was hilarious.
This is very interesting because I heard this in two places. So today, I was listening to Freddie and Harry on ESPN, and a guy called up from Atlanta, and he said that Bill Belichick was a great coach and all of this, but he didn't think that Bill Belichick fit the culture in Atlanta. He said because he just couldn't imagine Bill Belichick at Magic City, which, for those who don't know, is one of the more famous gentlemen's clubs in the city of Atlanta. And he said he just couldn't see him at Magic City ordering wings. He said he could see that, not to say that Raheem Morris visits those type of places, but he said he could see that more than he could see, Bill Belichick doing those things. But the thing about it is that in his conversation, even though he mentioned other things, he kept going back to Bill Belichick at the strip club. And Harry Douglas agreed. Harry Douglas said that, as being someone who lives in Atlanta, who had been in Atlanta for a long time, who was out in Atlanta, out and about in Atlanta, and knows Atlanta, he said he thought that Raheem Morris fit the culture of Atlanta better than anything else. And really what he was alluding to is you think of all the black people essentially who are in Atlanta and who support the Atlanta Falcons. And now they finally have their first black head coach. So I have to give a shout out to a group chat that I'm in, the fellas 2.0. All these brothers are born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia. And they live and die with the Falcons. And I was talking to them cats today, and they said the exact same thing. So it really let me know that Harry Douglas was on point and that guy was on point with this idea of how important the strip clubs were. Because that's exactly what my man DW was saying in the group, was that they needed somebody. They felt like they needed somebody that was going to exhibit the culture of Atlanta, which was about partying and going to strip clubs and all this kind of stuff. And they felt that Raheem Morris fit that mold much better than Bill Belichick. Nothing about football. Nothing about the fact that Bill Belichick is one of the greatest coaches to ever coach the game, that he's number 2 on the all-time wins list, that he has 6 Super Bowl rings. No, that wasn't the issue. The issue was
Bill Belichick ain't gonna make it rain.
the issue was the strip clubs, and I found that hilarious, extremely hilarious. But shout out to my guys and fellas 2.0, AT aliens to the day that they die.
And that would speak to why Atlanta was so bad. They have more fans of strip clubs than they do of their football team right now. That is horrible. That is horrible. Rodney, you got any take on Atlanta? Well, no, you don't have any take on Atlanta or the strip clubs. Your wife was with you. So moving right along.
Exactly.
This is Rodney's story. Siriani sacrifices his OC and his DC to save his own ass. What happened in Philadelphia, Rodney?
Man, I can talk about Philly because they just as bad as my. But Siriani, he got rid of his,
So we're gonna.
support. Hello.
We're gonna
he got rid of his DC in the middle of the season.
There you go. Go ahead, Rod. We lost you in the tunnel there.
Lost me in the tunnel.
There you go.
Siriani got rid of his DC in the middle of the season because the Philadelphia's defense wasn't stopping anybody. Their safeties and their corners are horrible. They weren't stopping anybody. So he got rid of his DC and went to Matt Patricia, who is your boy Bill Belichick's former DC, and he didn't do any better. They lost seven of their last 8 games and got knocked out of the playoffs in the first round. So with all of the calling for heads, they want changes in Philly because Philly don't play. Siriani was on the hot seat. So what did Siriani do? Siriani gave up his offensive coordinator and his the new DC, all in the effort to save his butt. So they had a meeting with Siriani and Jeffrey Lurie, and Siriani basically said, "Listen, it ain't me, it's them." But the problem is, he was the one that hired them. So how is it not? That's the same thing that your boy Trump be doing.
Yep.
Trump
hired there right
all these different. He hired and fired all those different secretaries, telling them that when he hired them, "Oh, the greatest thing ever," and then he fired them.
Yep.
Yeah, they're idiots. But you're the one that hired them.
He hired his good old boys, part of the good old boy network. But this is the part I don't get right. I understand the defensive coordinator, but the offensive coordinator too. What was it? The league caught up with the tush push. That's all that offensive coordinator was good for, was the tush push.
Well,
what happened to they had an explosive offense? Jalen Hurts was putting up all kind of numbers. So you fired the offensive coordinator. I didn't see really a problem with the offense. It was definitely the defense.
I don't know, because in think about in the last against the Giants, they scored 10 points against the Giants. They scored 9 points against the Eagles. They gave up 35 points to the Cardinals.
But they can't play themselves. Go back, Dorian. They can't play themselves. The Giants, they scored 10 points, you said, against the Giants.
And they gave up 27. They scored 31 points against the Cardinals, but they gave up 35. They scored 9 points in the wild card round against the Bucks and gave up 32. They gave up 33 against the Cowboys. They gave up 42 to the 49ers. They gave up 34 to the Bills. And these are consecutive games.
That's the defense.
So the defense scored, but at the same time that you give up 33 to the Cowboys, you only score 13. You give up 42 to the Niners, you score 19. You give up 27 to the Giants, you score 10. You give up 32 to the Bucks, you score 9. So I can see where
wasn't there top receiver hurt? When did the receiver, their top receiver, get hurt, Dorian?
This is the last few games. He got hurt the last few games.
So he didn't account for that. So, hey, Rodney, I guess that's what happens when you hire.
Hold up, D. D, the thing about it, though, is that, he wants to blame the OC for the offense being stagnant. But the problem is his offense. This is his system. This is Sirianni's system.
Exactly.
It wasn't Johnson's system. Johnson was running his system. So the offensive stagnant is the thing that you put in place.
The Sirianni calls the plays too, don't he?
Now, that's why I don't know.
Calls him, but he gets the yay or nay him. But like Rodney's alluding to, Sirianni was an offensive coach, and this is his system that he hired his buddy to come run for. So it's Sirianni. It's his system. He should, like Rodney said, He should have fired himself, but that ain't gonna
He
happen.
said that the offense is stagnant. With his offense is stagnant, but you're not gonna fire me. I can't fire myself now. So somebody got to fall on the sword. My bad, bro. You came here for a year. My bad. You got to go.
And this is again another perfect example of the good old boy network and what happens when they hire their own friends. They just get fired, and you best believe that OC and that DC will probably wind up with another job.
Hold on, Rodney. I'm looking up who calls the offensive plays for the Eagles. It says Siriani initially called the offensive plays after he was hired, but midway through his rookie season in 2021, he gave up those responsibilities and allowed then offensive coordinator Shane Steichen to call the plays.
And where's Shane Steichen at now?
And he the one in Indianapolis? No, that's not. Is he Indianapolis?
Shane Steichen, Dorian.
Let's see.
You're right, Rodney. He's in the Indianapolis coach.
Yeah,
and that's how he got that team. The good old boys network.
So the new offensive coordinator in Philly was the one who got sacrificed.
Yes, it was a new one.
So
he just got there this year.
He was only a year in. Okay.
So blame it.
And he was a brother. That's the part that made me mad. He was a brother.
And what did I say last week? Black coaches in all sports get hired and fired for all the wrong reasons. He was made a scapegoat.
Yeah, Brian Johnson. Yeah.
And I doubt if he finds another job, lands a quick job like some of these other guys, like Callahan.
No, he's not going to be an OC. He's going to be a position coach somewhere.
Yeah, got to work his way back up the ladder again, and that's part of the problem with that. Well, anyway, moving on to real quick from last week, guys. The divisional games. Unfortunately, Rodney didn't have anybody in these matchups to cheer about, so that was good news. But one of the games I was definitely in, since y'all was talking about my gourd, what did you fellas thinking about that 49ers surviving and KC? I don't want to give my opinion because it would be biased. Me being a 49er fan, I was kind of nervous. I will admit we pulled it off. But what did you guys think about this weekend? And definitely want your take from Detroit, Rodney, as far as that Detroit huge victory they had.
Well, first we're gonna start with the that was probably it wasn't the best game of the. Unfortunately, it was. You had bad special teams play, allowed Kansas City to sneak. But you talk about coaches. The question that Buffalo has to answer now is, it has the time passed on their coach because for whatever reason it doesn't seem like they can get past this hump.
Mm-hmm. Here we go. We're about to blame the coaches. It wasn't the coaches' fault. Again, history repeats itself for Buffalo. Wide right. I mean, they're cursed. But like I said, right, I don't.
Oh no, it was no.
I know what you're saying.
He got
situations in the game, other plays, and calls, but yeah, they still had a chance to win the game. And again, they're cursed with the wide right. So you ready to fire the Buffalo head coach as well?
No, but he should be put on notice, bro. There comes a time where if winning, same thing with the Cowboys. If winning championship is the most important thing to you, then if that coach can't get you to that point, it's time to move on from that coach. Coaches you said it, are hired to be fired. Mainly black coaches, but all coaches are hired to be fired. If you can't get that team over that hump, somebody has to be sacrificed, and usually it's the head coach, except for in the case of Nick Sirianni.
I can't see Buffalo that environment. I can't see them firing their coach anytime soon. Maybe after next year.
No, I'm not saying this year. I'm saying I'm saying he needs to be put on notice. Put on notice, bro. You need to win.
Shake it up.
You need to win. It's not like it was when what's the old Marv Levy? It's not like it was when Marv Levy was there. Levy was there.
Oh,
But free agency wasn't the same as it is now. Teams stayed together for much longer periods of time, and coaches were given a much longer leash, unless they were just horrible. And if you had a coach who was a winning coach, like I put it this way, what has happened is that the conversation has changed from winning to winning Super Bowls. So,
but that's supposed to be a conversation every year, though.
No. Wait a minute. No, it's not. And then what I mean by that is that Bud Grant from Minnesota went to 4 Super Bowls and lost all 4 of them, and nobody talked about firing Bud Grant. Marv Levy went to 4 Super Bowls in a row and lost 4 of them in a row, and nobody talked about firing Marv Levy. But
and they kept the same kicker.
Right, and now, but now what has happened is that the onus is on, okay, because of free agency, you only that was the point. That's how I started this all off about free agency.
I was about to say that same thing, but go ahead.
Free agency has changed everything, because now you really only got 3, maybe 4 years with a particular group to try to win. And if you don't win within those 3 to 4 years, well, now you got a whole bunch of shuffling that's happening. And so now you're really starting over. So I think that's why there's such a short leash now, is because of free agency. I still don't think it's right. I still don't think you give somebody a 6-year contract, and then after 2 years, you say, nah, you ain't good enough, and then you fire them. I think you give somebody a chance to build the culture. If you felt like it was worth 6 years when you gave them the contract, then damn it, give them 6 years. Unless for 4 of them, they really, really were just terrible. Then I understand. But I think you got to give coaches chances. But still, that's what free agency, that's what the media has done about these greatest of all time debates and how many chips you got. All of that stuff has really started to that kind of train of thought, that philosophy has really started to take over.
So one last my little thing on that from those matchups. I'm sorry, what was that?
Hold on, can you hear me now? Let me ask you a question, Dean.
Go ahead.
You want to give the coaches, if they got a 6-year contract, give them the 6 years. You don't do the same thing with players. If a player doesn't perform like he wanted the player to perform, he's gone in a year, 2 years.
I said what
what's the difference with keeping it?
I didn't say there's a difference. I've always been against the idea that if you give a player a contract, a 5-year contract, and you cut him after 3, I've always felt that was wrong too. So I'm not speaking out the side, as Cameo would say, I'm not talking out the side of my neck. I've said the same thing about giving coaches the full extent of their contracts, and I've said the same thing about players getting all of the money that's on their contracts. I think that in order to make it better, to make the system better, I think that they should, this idea of giving somebody guaranteed money. If you just guarantee their whole contracts to me, you don't have to give them as much. But they have to do this thing with giving people incentives and all of this kind of stuff, where really they be haggling about the guaranteed money in the first place. Mm-hmm. So I've always thought that if you could give, instead of promising somebody $160 million contract with $40 million guaranteed, well, just give them the $40 million that's guaranteed, right? Let's do that, then you can work. But again, I know that I know it's more complicated than that. But I've always thought that was the issue. But no, I've never been one to advocate, cutting players after 2 years or 3 years. No, let them play out their contract.
So let me say, for the team, when they report those 4-year, $160 million contracts, but only $40 million guaranteed. For the team is only looking at it as a 2-year, $40 million contract. It's the agents that put out there. It's a 4-year, $160 million contract, because they want other players to see, hey, I got this man $160 million. That's not what the team does. That's the agent thing.
Yep.
The team will let you know, this is the guaranteed money. This is what we're paying him. This is what we're guaranteeing to this player. It's the agents that put that other money out there. That's not a team thing.
And that's why I use Daniel Jones as a perfect baseline for Baker Mayfield coming into a new contract year. As far as like you said, right, it's the agents that are going to be out there. You best believe that agent is going to be going to teams like Baker's better than this guy, this bum up here that's making $40 million. So I totally agree. And then finally, before we move on, the Detroit game, that was awesome. But the Baltimore game, the AFC divisional game, was pretty cool because we got to see the rookie of the year playing the MVP this season. And what was a close game in the first half, I thought just turned out to be a blowout. So as we see here, Detroit and Baltimore ended up breezing away. But real quick, before we get on to the conference championships, I did forget to mention, Rod, how could I? Former San Francisco 49er head coach, former Michigan head coach and new and champion, Jim Harbaugh, close to signing the deal with the Chargers. Remember, I've been saying this, the past 6, maybe 8 months. I've been wanting this to happen, right? It's signed. Sign your name on the dotted line. I've been saying this forever.
He's gone. He's gone. But that was the thing with Harbaugh. The thing with Harbaugh, Michigan just could not guarantee as much money as I was about to say San Diego, as the Chargers could, LA Chargers. And at the end of the day, I mean, you got to do what's best for you and your family. Yeah, he wanted to get back into the NFL because he does want to win a Super Bowl. That's one of his goals, winning that Super Bowl. Why? Because his brother has one, and his brother beat him. So he wants to one up his brother by having a Super Bowl and a national championship trophy.
And the best part of that, Rod, like I've been saying forever, he gets to go back to what I like to call home in California, from Stanford to San Francisco. That's why I always said Chargers are the AFC version of the 49ers. And Jim Harbaugh is about to do that. So I'm very excited. I know we all know that Dorian doesn't like Michigan. He doesn't per se not dislike Jim Harbaugh. But I'm actually excited to see Jim going back to the NFL to try to get a chance to get that Super Bowl what's been eluding. But with that said, that's the segment.
I'm not gonna agree with you. The Chargers is a AFC version of the Niners.
Well, I'm talking about when I say that, Rodney, that analogy has always been when you look at the offensive weapons that the Chargers have.
I think that was the main reason why he chose the LA job versus the Atlanta job.
A quarterback.
So but you're exactly right. It's funny that y'all mentioned this because this morning, I'm taking the baby to school. I was listening to Greeny, and Greeny talked about how his wife is really good friends with somebody that's a big up in the Michigan athletic department. So they were at a dinner once. It's like she's like literally best friends with his wife. Like they grew up together, like me and you, Rod. They best friends like that.
Yeah.
So he said they were at a Michigan dinner. And he said he had the opportunity to talk with Jim Harbaugh, and he said they were talking. He said, and they just got to talking. And he said the conversation never came up about him leaving Michigan. They were just talking about NFL quarterbacks. He said, and before they could get out the conversation, he says Harbaugh just started raving about Justin Herbert, talking about telling Greeny, look how good Justin Herbert is. He's just so great. He can do this. He said he was raving about him. He said that's why. He said, he never wanted. I guess he never really wanted to kind of mention it and do any name dropping, and then the rumor mill started. But he said that's why he has always maintained that if Harbaugh ever decided to come back to the NFL, that he would go to the Chargers. He says because of that conversation that he had with him, he knew that if he ever decided to come back, that's exactly where he would go because of Justin Herbert.
And you know why I wanted Harbaugh there, because you guys all know I've had Justin Herbert as my fantasy quarterback for the past 2 years, and he can't get over the hump. And that's why I like the fact Jim is going there, because what do we all know about Jim? Which I love Jim Harbaugh, because Jim was a quarterback. He was also a quarterback coach, and he can coach quarterbacks, which we saw at Michigan, which is why he won a national championship.
Stanford.
Yeah, don't let me forget Stanford.
He made Colin Kaepernick.
And Colin Kaepernick.
He made Colin Kaepernick into a household name.
Exactly, Rodney. So for me, Jim Harbaugh, it comes to coaches, he's a very
real quick, D.
Yes, sir.
D. The funny thing about that story, that it wasn't Michigan event. They were at a funeral.
Oh wow.
Oh wow. At a funeral talking football, that's about as bad as the Atlanta Falcons and New England Patriots fans. They don't care about the team, they care about strip clubs. Wow. But anyway, segue real quick. Speaking of the conference championship games, Rodney, my boys against your hometown team.
Oh, were we speaking about it?
What was that?
So here's the thing.
49ers against Detroit.
I said, here's the thing. Here's the thing. If I want to sleep at night and if I want to eat on Sundays, I said if I want to sleep at night and if I want to eat on Sundays, I got to root for the Lions. Now, is it possible that the Lions can win? Yes, it is.
It is.
Because the Lions have a wonderful offense. Defense is they're okay. If they get hot, they're good. But their offense can play with anybody. I don't think the offense is afraid of San Francisco's defense. They're gonna go out there. They're gonna do the only team this year that had put the Lions on their back for real was when they played against Baltimore. That's just because Baltimore's defense is just great. San Francisco's defense is
San Francisco on their back. So I agree with you on that, Rodney. Detroit and the 49ers both had to play Baltimore.
I tell you too, though, in that game, though, with San Francisco, is Deebo Samuel going to play?
Yeah.
For the 49ers offense.
He kind of practiced today. Yeah.
Their offense was definitely different without Deebo Samuel. It was a lot, and you don't really realize how much Deebo Samuel does until he's not in the game.
Absolutely.
And so,
I can break that down for you.
So I think that's going to be a real telltale sign, because that really gives the Lions defense one less person that they have to worry about, because there's nobody else on the team that does what Deebo does.
Well, let me segue to that for you real quick, Dorian. I like where you're going with that. You're exactly right. When Deebo doesn't play, and you saw them, that's why they struggled last week. So if Deebo's not in there, what happens is now the linebackers can double team on Kittles coming across the middle or whatever, and the DBs can double team either Brandon Ayuk, which they double team Brandon Ayuk, because nobody really pays any attention to Jennings. But who turned out to play big last week for us because Deebo was out? Jennings had some huge catches, and that's how we ultimately won that game. Minus the mishaps from both kickers. I don't know what's going on with our kicker, but that was the reason to me why we won that game, is because the other team's kicker missed their field goal in Green Bay. Jordan Love is the truth. Jordan Love is going to be the truth.
Well, I'm going to put it this way about Jordan Love. I think next year will really tell us about Jordan Love. And this is why I say this. Just from all of these years of listening to these cats talk about quarterbacks. I'm not going to say I am a quarterback, but listening to Steve Young, and I'm talking about the great quarterbacks and what they tell you not to do. Jordan Love does everything they tell you not to do as a quarterback.
Like throw the ball across your body in the middle of the field.
Across your body, across the middle of the field. He throws a lot of balls off his back foot.
Right. Real quick, I don't want to cut you off. And who else did that? And that's only at Green Bay, because Brett Favre did it, Aaron Rodgers did it, and now Jordan Love's doing the same thing.
But my thing about my point is it's not to say that he's not talented enough to do that. I'm just saying he's been doing it. But the second year for me is always a telltale sign for quarterbacks, because if he can duplicate, and maybe not even necessarily duplicate, because he had 30-something interceptions. I'm sorry, not interceptions, 30-something touchdowns this year. He played very well the last 9-10 games of the season that they end up in the playoffs. So I want to see if he can duplicate that. But what I want to see him be able to duplicate is not the touchdowns necessarily, but the lack of turnovers. Mm-hmm. Because now they've got a lot of tape on him. Mm-hmm. So let's year when he has to come back, and now it's like in pitching, right? Everybody talks about you never know what a pitcher is really like until you see him the second and the third time. Mm-hmm. So
third time around the batting order.
Right. So now he's coming around his second, third time in the batting order. So let's see what he does next year when these defensive coordinators are trying to take away what he does best and make him do the things that he doesn't do as well. Let's see how he does next year. But he had a hell of a season. I'm not taking anything away from him.
That's the same thing that happened to Trevor Lawrence. Fabio.
Don't even bring Fabio up. Nope, Fabio is a disappointment. I'm mad at Fabio. Let's stick to. He's not even in the NFC. He's not even in the conference championship. We're not going to talk about Fabio, right? I wanted to cut you off. We're going to talk about these guys. Jordan Love, to Dorian's real quick. The one thing, not just one, but the thing that would really impress me the most about Jordan Love as well, Dorian, like you said, this was his sophomore season, but you know what he did in the sophomore season? And Rodney can attest to this. He took a team that was basically stripped of all their talent because of A-Rod took all the trades and everything. They stripped that team down. He had basically one receiver. He was trying to find a who's who. So for him to figure that all out with 30-plus touchdowns, and I agree, Dorian, like you said, his turnovers were part of trying to figure out who he's working with, throwing across his body, doing the Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers type deal. But you know what? He's in Green Bay. They let that slide. And the future is just – I see a bright future in that kid, just like in C.J. Stroud. The young black quarterbacks are the real deal in the NFL. I think that's what we're trying to go in with all this. And then in the other side, in the AFC Championship game, this is going to be a doozy, fellas. Cheese? I don't know, man. I said it. I'm sticking with it. 49ers and the Ravens in the Super Bowl. But they're playing it. We saw the Chiefs going to Buffalo. Hey, man, you can't discount my quarterback. Even though it's not my team, y'all know my homies, my quarterback. Rodney gave up on him. Hey, man.
Oh, bro, I'm done with him, man. He caused me to lose.
Don't ever talk bad about my homie, man. No, but I just don't see them, man. That Baltimore defense is just, oh my God. Yeah. So if everything holds out, man, I think it's gonna be San Francisco and the Ravens in the Super Bowl. So I'm taking Baltimore. Rest in peace. Shout out to my guy Big D. I've been for the team as well, but this is one that, I think this is Lamar's year. If my 49ers don't make it to the Super Bowl, or if they do make it to the Super Bowl, as long as they lose to Lamar Jackson, I have no problem. So that was that. But moving on from football, guys.
Ain't no fan talking about as long as they lose to Lamar Jackson.
I'm not like you with Dallas. I know when
Dallas will never lose a game. Dallas can never lose a game.
I'm scared of Detroit, Rodney. I'm saying
49ers. Who you got?
That Detroit game.
Who you got?
I got so in the NFC, I feel like Detroit. I feel like Detroit can win, and I feel like if Deebo Samuels doesn't play and can't play effectively, so at 90, 100%, then I think get out there. I think that the Lions will squeak one out on the road, but I think Deebo Samuels plays and can play it at 90, 100%, and at whatever percentage that he can be effective. I'll put it that way. Mm-hmm. Then I think that the 49ers will win. So I predicated that on that. But if I had to pick, I would say 49ers at home.
We got AFC.
AFC, man, I really want to say Baltimore because Baltimore is at home, but this dude Mahomes, man. But this cat just seems to find a way. And again, I can't. I'm not taking any away from Kelsey. I'm not taking anything away from Rashee Rice. I'm not taking any away from thing away from the cats that catch the ball. But this dude continues to do it without a Tyreek Hill. Yeah, he still got Travis Kelsey, but he doesn't have any receivers. That's it.
You can throw anybody out there, and he gonna make them all better.
Runs the ball, and he runs hard. But Mahomes
as long as they catch the ball,
Mahomes gets that ball to the cats. So while I want to say Baltimore because Baltimore is again the only reason I'm choosing Baltimore, if it was a neutral site game, or obviously if it was in Kansas City, I'm taking the Chiefs. Neutral site, I'm taking the Chiefs. But at home, I got to take Baltimore.
Right. Well, I already said my NFC. It's gonna be the Lions. AFC,
you better if you want to eat and sleep well tonight. You better say the Lions. Okay,
exactly.
And AFC.
AFC, as much as I would like to see, as D said, I like to see Lamar win. Bro, I just can't go against my homie, man. For whatever reason, well, I ain't gonna say for whatever reason, he is by far the best quarterback I've ever seen play the position. That includes Tom Brady. That includes my favorite, Roger Staubach. That includes everybody. Joe Montana.
My favorite, Steve Young. He's better than
Steve Young. It doesn't matter. I've never seen anyone play quarterback like this dude has. And he's not fast, but you can't catch him. Because he slipped away and he's going. So before you know it, it's third and 18 and he's ran for 22 yards.
Would you say he has deceptive Rod Pearson speed?
Exactly.
Rod speed is not deceptive.
This an old school Asma reference. He has that Ramondre Stover speed. Ain't nobody catching him when he got that ball. He got to run it. He ain't gonna let nobody catch him.
Shout out to Mondy.
Mondy Stovers.
But
all right,
it's just honestly, and I gotta give another shout out to my guy Danny. I told you the brother that I always talk about the segment with him, the blind side. But he from Kansas City, and from the time Kansas City drafted Mahomes, Danny used to come in Dr. Williams' office and me and Dr. Williams' office. Shout out to my guy Dr. Williams. He used to come into our office and rave about Mahomes, and I used to tell him, calm down, man. He just a rookie. He ain't even played yet. But when they let him play, I'm telling you, he gonna be the greatest ever. We were like, okay, Danny, okay. And sure enough, Danny was right. Think about it.
Right. He the greatest ever.
The 6 straight conference championships game.
Yep.
And he literally puts a team on. The thing about Mahomes is you can never leave him in a game. You have to blow him out. Mm-hmm. You have to make sure that you blow him out, because if you give him a chance,
13 seconds,
he's gonna make you hold your breath all the way down the field. He's just that kind of player.
All he needs is 13 seconds and no timeouts.
And I'm been so glad that I've had an opportunity to actually see him play in person in Kansas City, and that I also got a chance to see A-Rod. However much we talk noise about how we don't like A-Rod and his personality on the football field, that dude is a wonder to behold. Seen him play in person.
Hey, A-Ron, where are you? Where is A-Ron right now?
Me and Rodney.
You know where Patrick Mahomes realm.
Me and Rodney saw him in Lambeau. Man, look. Shout out to Lambeau Field. That was a wonderful, wonderful game atmosphere that they have in Lambeau. But man, Aaron Rodgers is all that they say he is. Aaron Rodgers is all that.
Well, but even with that, Mahomes will feel better.
So shout out to Jordan Love. And before we move on, again, I do like to always brag that when Patrick Mahomes came into the league, which you can always go check these records with ESPN. I was that one less than 0.1 that drafted Patrick Mahomes. Nobody knew about him coming out of college, and I drafted him my number 1 overall pick in our fantasy league. Joe Polian to tell you, we were at the big fantasy league at the draft party, and I was on the board. Geechee Dan takes Joe Polian, couldn't even pronounce his name. Patrick Mahomes. All the guys were like, who the hell is this dude? Anyway, Geechee just took somebody we don't even know about, so we're going to move on. He just skipped over me. Long and behold, I should go get my championship belt that has Patrick's picture on there because he got me a fantasy league. But we're going to move on from Patrick. That's my quarterback. But shifting gears, fellas, you all know it's time. It's gearing up. It's about that time. And I'm like Rodney when it comes to the Cowboys. Y'all saw me last week. My Tarheels are number 3 and dominate. Yeah, I forgot to check. We might be number 2 if somebody lost this week. But my Tarheels are looking good, Dorian. 7-0, 8-0 in the ACC. Lizard Man looking good. There's balance amongst the team.
I'm going to turn my camera off and have everybody guess which finger I'm holding up in response to UNC.
Shout out to all the Duke fans. That's what Dorian is. So when he comes back, that finger will still be there. But don't hate.
You don't hate. Okay, people out there in TV land. The only reason Dante was my roommate for 4 years. We were roommates, and the only reason even though I loved Grant Hill, the only reason I became a Duke fan was because he is an insufferable UNC Tar Heels fan. And so I started rooting for Duke just so I could root against him.
See, I told y'all you're a hater. I've been telling y'all you're a hater.
So my hatred for him and North Carolina is why I love Duke. Ain't that interesting?
But we balling. We getting it's getting close. January's about to end. We're about to get in February. We're in conference play across the country. So the reason I brought that up about North Carolina because I wanted to use that as a kind of a segue out here to Arizona, and which is funny because this story that happened last week, this was the football team, first of all. University of Arizona fires the athletic director instead of the accountant. So if anybody hasn't read, what's going on, the president or whoever, they fired the AD because University of Arizona is in financial shambles. And this happened, obviously, when COVID hit and everything, and then you got the conference swamping and everything else. Rob, we got to be sure to put the link to the story in because you read it, you can be like, what?
I think
it all came down to mismanagement of funds. So they can't budget for the football team and all these other sports. They're losing money across the board. This is a former Pac-12 power team in football and basketball, well, especially in basketball, but women's softball, and some of the other sports.
Yes.
So they fired the athletic director. And to me, to save money, because I think they may be building a new state. I forgot, but it just made no sense. So instead of firing the accountant who got the budget all wrong, it was a budgeting mistake, as they said. So the athletic director had nothing to do with that. He hired the football coach that we talked about last week for Arizona football team that actually won, that was winning. He hired that guy. And so that's probably why that guy left and took the job up in Washington, because he saw what was going on down south of the border. And it is what we call U of A here in Phoenix for all those ASU grads. Yeah, U of A is basically south of the border. So that was just like shocking to me. How does a Power 5 team, Power 5 school run out of money, Rod? You always talking about money, these conferences, and they go into the Big 12 broke. So they're going to be wanting some of that conference share.
Is the only we lost him? We had lost him for a second. I think he tried to come. Okay. But okay, let me ask this question though. How many times have we talked about what has happened whenever something is going on, even though the athletic director not the athletic director, even though the head coach may not have known anything about it or did anything about it, but then it goes back to that NCAA that real vague rule, right? Lack of institutional control.
Mm-hmm.
So,
This was the institution.
You gotta get rid of the AD. You can't get rid of the accountant. Lack of institutional control. You got to get rid of the man at the top. So that's why the AD had to go.
But that's what's wrong, though. The AD ain't managing the books. He goes, that's like we having a staff meeting, Dorian. You know, you the financial manager, I'm the AD. I come in, hey Dorian, how we looking? We gonna need to make sure we going to the what conference they going to next year? The Big 12.
Yeah,
so we're gonna have to make new flight arrangements because of the new schedule. We're gonna need money for all this. How we looking, Dorian? Oh yeah, we should be good. That's basically what the accountant told them. Until the invoices started coming in, they found out they was broke. So, like you said, as an institution, that's why the University of Arizona is a joke.
You better check the accountants. The accountants,
right? Embellish them into something. I mean, how does that happen? I have never. This is the first Division I Power 5 school that I've ever heard of where their athletic department is basically going broke. And they blamed it on COVID and this and that, blah, blah, blah. Okay, you got all these other schools. You ain't heard about nobody else firing their AD because the accountant couldn't balance the checkbook. That makes no sense unless the AD hired the accountant. So, yeah, you're right, Dorian. You might want to check the accountant's bank accounts because, somebody getting paid on that. But I had to throw it in. I thought that was like with all the shake up here.
The money went somewhere.
The money goes somewhere. Like, where did that money go? You got students. Hey, what my boy say? TK say all the time. You got college girls graduating every year. People enrolling every year. Where's that money going? So we put that out there. But then the other little thing we talked about, we was watching this. This was the game of the night, and it didn't have nothing to do with the men. All right. So Dawn Staley, Dorian, what do you think about her?
Great coach. There are a lot of great players who have trouble transitioning to coaching and being able to teach other players. Because they expect, great players expect other players to see the game, to play the game the way that they did. And that becomes very difficult when you're coaching people and trying to help them be better. Mm-hmm. But Dawn Staley was a great player. One of my all-time favorite women's basketball players. Maybe I should just preface that I'm saying not preface that. Maybe I shouldn't say one of my all-time favorite women's basketball players, but one of my all-time favorite players, basketball players. I've always loved Dawn Staley's game. But as a coach, she's shown that she can develop players. Mm-hmm. And that she can build a cohesive team. And she built she built a great team at South Carolina fairly quickly.
And supplanted an icon in UConn and the coach that we had there, so
so great coach. You can't take anything away from Dawn Staley as a coach. So no, I think and I think that's what happened tonight. Where again, you got an LSU team that's at home that has the number one team. You had them on the ropes. You were beating them. Yep. As I was saying before, we had our tragic accident a few minutes ago.
Oh, we didn't have an accident. That was a commercial break. I forgot to load the commercial.
LSU, I think, was up at some point in the third quarter or the fourth quarter. They were up 7, only to end up losing by 6.
But the big thing, too, was Angel Reese was in foul trouble with that as well.
Yeah, so had a good game, but was in foul trouble. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so again, that's just a product of good coaching, for South Carolina's part. So
speaking of that,
South Carolina.
Any predictions on the ladies' Final Four? South Carolina, LSU, Iowa, and
Iowa,
who else is balling?
I don't think you can count out. You can't ever count out UConn. Especially with Paige back.
What's up, buddy?
Paige Buckets is back. So you can't count out UConn.
UConn, LSU. What are the women's rankings right now? What's the top 5?
That's what I was just looking at. So
top 5. That's
no,
all
we got to go a little bit further because it's pretty quick. I can do it.
Okay.
Number one, 18-0 is South Carolina. Number 2 is UCLA. Number 3 is Colorado. 4 Kansas State. Interesting. 5 Iowa. 6 Stanford. 7 NC State. 8 UConn. I told you, Paige buckets. 9 LSU. 10 Texas. 11 USC. 12 O State. 13 Baylor. 14 Indiana. 15 Notre Dame. 16 Utah. 17 Gonzaga. 18 Louisville. 19 Virginia Tech. 20 your Tar Heels. 21 is Creighton, 22 is Syracuse, 23 Florida State, 24 is West Virginia, 25 is Oregon State.
And you know the one team that stood out of all the 25 you just mentioned, which is going to shock you? What team set off all the drama last year with LSU? Colorado. It's highly ranked. It's still in there. I forgot about UCLA, but man, women's basketball is just parity across the board. The top team, any of them can beat each other.
Yeah,
so
always.
I think the ladies are more. I think the ladies' game this season, this year, as you just alluded to, and going over the top 25 rankings, it's better than the men's. The men every week somebody's getting beat in the men's NCAA basketball. The number one. Nobody wants to be number one longer than 2 weeks. I don't think. Maybe after since the beginning of the season, I don't think any team has held the number 1 spot in men's for more than 3 weeks in a row. Could be wrong, but I can't recall it because we would know because everybody gets beat every other week. But with that being said, we're gonna move on along from the NCAA.
Tournament time, so let's get ready.
It's almost that time.
Yeah.
Speaking of time, it wasn't Adrian Griffin's time anymore. Time to go. He gone. What was up with that, man? How you gonna fire? See, black coaches get hired and fired for all the wrong reasons. How you gonna fire a coach with a winning record? It's a problem in Milwaukee, Dorian.
With the second best record in the East.
It's a culture problem up there,
okay,
man.
So this what?
It's Milwaukee.
Okay, so this is something that I thought was very interesting that the wonderful Candace Parker brought up on TNT the other night. So you hire Adrian Griffin, then things aren't going as well as you would like them to. And what they've been harping about is saying how they're just terrible defensively. Okay. Much worse defensively than they were under Coach Bud. Okay. They still got the second best record, but they just felt like defensively they just weren't playing well defensively, and that Griffin hadn't done a good enough job of integrating Damian Lillard or being able to get Damian Lillard and Giannis to play, with one another, so to speak. They played in the lineup with one another, but not really playing with one another as far as usage rates and so on and so forth. All right. But anyway, so then you hire Doc Rivers as a consultant. Where's hold on. Wait a minute.
Yeah, he's in somebody's ear.
Wait a minute, hold on. Wait, where is it?
While Dorian's looking up a little more of their research history.
You know what I'm looking for?
The whole thing goes back to me, the whole Bobby Porter Jr. situation and all that the whole fight that happened in the past between them. So to me, it wasn't a coach. It was the fact that they traded for Dame Lillard, which limited Bobby Porter Jr.'s time. And that's where all this beef started. Because you mentioned defensively, Milwaukee, wasn't as good as they were defensively. So let's put it like this. What if Milwaukee was in the West? They would be killing folks with that squad they have.
This is what I was looking for.
Oh, conspiracy. I'm slowly turning Dorian into a conspiracy theorist now. He playing the music, not me. That was him.
So this is what I was looking for. I was looking for this music. Okay, so this is the point, and this goes back to again what Candace Parker was saying. So you hired Doc as a consultant. Now, at first I thought when I heard that Doc was consulting Adrian Griffin, I thought that him and Doc were boys, and he was calling and asking Doc for advice. But no, what they said is that the Bucks hired Doc as a consultant.
As a weasel.
You hire him, and then you fire the head coach, and then you hire the consultant. So it sounds to me like y'all plan on hiring Doc Rivers anyway. That y'all were gonna fire him anyway. Y'all made it look like it was a consultant thing. Y'all gave Doc a chance to come in while y'all were still playing very well. Again, got the second best team in the East, second best record in the East. You brought in while you're still playing very well, and also still early in the season. You gave Doc a chance to come in and see and experiment to tell Adrian Griffin what to do, to now see what will work. And then you get rid of Adrian Griffin and you let Doc come in. That's, to me, that's a little underhanded. Mm-hmm. And then I had to wonder, I had to ask Rodney, because Rodney always keeps track of this kind of stuff. And I probably should have asked Atiba, but Atiba didn't know. Shout out to my ship. And because he usually knows this kind of stuff too. I wondered if Doc had actually interviewed for the Milwaukee job and they passed him up for the Milwaukee job. But Rodney said, no.
You mean prior to the season started?
Like prior to the season, like so you interview him for the job, but then you give it to Griffin, and then you say, oh, we probably should have hired Doc. Let's hire him as a consultant. And then, that kind of thing. But they both said that he didn't interview with the Bucks. But yeah, I thought that was kind of sneaky on the Bucks part and how Doc ended up getting that job.
One of the shows I do watch religiously, and that's Gil's Arena. And he pointed one of the things out that I didn't even think about, because being a Boston Celtics fan, like me and dudes are, and that is Doc Rivers has a basically 500 losing record. And so it goes back to Milwaukee. You fire coach with the winning. Yes, they broke it down. I didn't realize that. And we start going back to all the teams that Doc was with, from the Clippers and everywhere he's went. He gets to the playoffs and he loses. Can't get over the hump. And as they alluded to, he finally got over the hump in Boston because he had all those stars when he finally got his one championship. So I was like, that's interesting when you look up his overall record.
He's ninth on the all-time list. Me and Rodney, this is the same. I wish Rodney was on this call right now, because me and him had this exact same argument the other day. How it kills me how people try to say.
Dorian, hold on. That's two different things. Look up his playoff record stuff. See, that's different. The wins in the regular season will add a curve to that. And I was the same way. I'm like, this dude been winning. But I said, look at his playoff record.
His playoff record is 111 and 104.
Almost.
So he has. So he's a little over 500,
like Jill said.
But okay. He's been to the conference finals 3 times. Been to the NBA finals twice, and he's got a ring. Okay, yeah, he may have been bounced out of the playoffs in the second round.
Couple first rounds. First
round with what? With an Orlando team back in the day who really expected.
I'm talking about look at the teams when he had the Clippers, and that's why I was like you. I was like, what? Really? I looked up like.
My point is that who can you get with a better resume than Doc Rivers? If you have a team like Milwaukee, I'm not talking about a team that you're trying to start from scratch. He's not one of those kind of coaches anymore.
He's a championship-built coach.
He's the kind of coach that's going to come in, that is able to take them egos, that is able to shape them kind of teams or whatever not. And you could talk about epic collapses, but how many coaches? And again, that's something that the media puts on that. But when you look at his playoff record overall, again, he's got a winning playoff record overall. And he's been to the conference finals 3 times, to the NBA finals twice, and he's got a championship. Who else can say that? Who else is better than that in the NBA? And then
as far as carrying coaches, you're right.
And also the thing too is with Milwaukee, which getting back to this whole thing about them firing Adrian Griffin is how you gonna be mad that the defense wasn't as good as it was under Coach Bud, but you fired Coach Bud.
The defense, and again,
you fired him, and so what were you looking for? You couldn't say you fired him because you were looking for better defense. You fired him because you were looking for more offense. So now you got more offense, but now the defense is lacking a little bit. Now all of a sudden, oh well, now that the defense again, they felt maybe they just felt at that point that he wasn't a good fit. That he wasn't the fit that they thought he would be, and for whatever reason, because he's still winning. Again, great players make great coaches. You can't name a coach that wins consistently that doesn't have great players. So the fact when people talk about, oh, well, the reason he's winning is because he has stars. Of course, they all do. All the great coaches have stars. So
speaking stars,
I hate that argument. He wasn't gonna win without stars. Nobody wins without stars. So Doc Rivers is a good coach. He's had some bad collapses, but he's also had some triumphs, and he's got some bigger victories than those collapses. But that's what we talk about all the time, right? Is how what people want to do is instead of looking at what you've done great, they want to pick at you for what you didn't do well on a couple occasions. People forget that they act like this dude never went to an NBA finals twice and won once. All they talk about is, he lost a 3-1 lead. Okay, well, they won a championship with a 3-1 lead, So it's anyway, let me stop.
We're moving on. Well, and good news, and you seeing teams, bro, did you see that game? Embiid.
No,
remember I used to say when I used to talk about mediocre man when all that trade talk was going on, that's the guy they should have went after as far as a big time trade. That's what the Suns, that's who, not what. Maybe I should say what, because I don't know if that man's human after that performance, but Embiid, the process. Remember going back years ago, trust the process? When Philly was losing, like you said, and look at Embiid now. 70, dropped 70 like it's hot. And that same night, it was, I think Rodney's boy scored like 40-something. It was people going off that night. But I thought I'd put that on there. Embiid, 70 points, especially last week we talked about him and the Joker finally matching up again and him getting the best of the Joker in that game. I think that was the game, as a matter of fact. But, man, Philly, if Embiid plays like that, and Milwaukee, let's go. If Milwaukee and Philadelphia had matched up, had to play each other in the playoffs, who you got, Dorian? With the team, just like we talked about, with Doc Rivers going to Milwaukee, having been, in the East, and he knows these teams already, if they had to face a Philadelphia Embiid squad, who wins that best of 7 series? Would Doc get Milwaukee playing deep, get them to playing defense, and who's going to stop Embiid? Dorian's looking to Jesus right now, waiting for an answer. This is a tough one.
Okay, I'm going to say Milwaukee, and I'm going to say Milwaukee until Philadelphia.
30 seconds.
Until
30 seconds. Tell me why.
No, simple. I just said it. I'm taking Milwaukee until Philly shows me that they can win. Philly never shows me that they can make it over the hump. So until they make it over the hump, I'm taking Milwaukee.
Gotcha. And this was when Rod tossed up in here for us. I was unaware of this trade. I don't think it was a big deal. Blah. I mean, would Terry Rozier really make a big difference in Miami with a team where I think Jimmy Buckets is Jimmy back? Is he still out hurt? I don't see Miami I don't see Miami doing anything in the playoffs this year. So I don't think Terry Rozier, other than providing them some extra defense, is a big deal at all as far as the trades.
And youth, that's about it. He's younger than Lowry. This is something, actually this topic itself was something in the group that we have with cats with me, Calvin, and dudes and all of us. that Dudes had actually was the one that mentioned about this, that he thought that this was a good trade, and because of how much he liked Terry Rozier, and he thought Rozier would be real good with the Heat. So Dudes is the one that really, was talking about this more than anything else. But right now, the Heat are 7th in the
7th spot. Yeah, that's what I was like. That's not good. They're gonna barely make the playoffs.
But I don't know if. Let me see if. Let me check on Butler for you.
Oh, by the way, while you're checking on Butler, one thing I did forget to mention in regards to Embiid scoring at 70. That's what they were playing. They were playing San Antonio. They were playing against Wemby. Wemby scored 33 in that game. But Embiid, like I said, Embiid is the man. That's who the Suns should have got a long time ago.
Yeah. No.
Speaking of Wemby, you think Wemby gonna make the All-Star team? I don't see him making an All-Star team. Fans,
not among those players that we named. I mean, he'll make the all. He'll play in the rookie game.
Yeah. Okay, there you go. Yeah, he'll definitely be in the rookie game, but he better not get no spot on the starting spot.
Yeah, but to get with your next banner, I don't know if you put it up yet. Wait a minute, is this something else? No, I didn't pass it. Where'd it go? Oh, the fact that, as you said, Wemby was even though Embiid had 70, as you said, Wemby was no chopped liver, with 33. So he showed he can play. He had 33. But I don't think this year. I don't think he's an all-star this year. I think he's the best player on the worst team in the NBA.
So let's go back to that real quick before we go on. Embiid. So Wemby got his 33. Cool. That's what the big man, should be getting. 25, 30, 30. Perfect. 70 points for Embiid. Speaking of coaches that is like, if Belichick can be fired, I'm going with this. You see where I'm going with this, Dorian, in San Antonio. It's time for that coach to step away. Because what are you doing? We just talked about defense. You let one man score 70 points on you. One man. You got 5 guys out there. Double team him, triple team him, or something.
Look, Kobe scored 81 in a game, so hey.
I understand that, but this is who was that team that Kobe played? It was that in Charlotte? Was it against Charlotte? I think he scored that 81 against.
No, because
it was a garbage squad he did it against. But that's the point. When you're playing garbage, you're supposed to put up some kind of numbers. But at the same time, what kind of professional ball player are you when you let any individual score that many points on you?
It was against Toronto. It was against the Raptors.
Okay.
They were 81.
I
mean, sometimes a cat has one of them games. I mean, Jordan put 63 on the Celtics in the playoffs.
I mean, I get it. I looked at all, but I'm talking about
George Gervin has David
I
Robinson.
Think it's more of an indictment.
Wilt had 100. Sometimes it's your night. It just happened to go.
That's all I'm talking about. I think the indictment I'm talking about, Dorian, is on the coach. And you're looking at how their season is gone with Wemby, like they were tanking to get Wemby. I think it's time for Pop to step away.
I will say that it's been so long since the Spurs have really been
relevant.
Yeah. Thank you. And like in any way that it makes me wonder, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying?
Tanking like Bill Belichick did with the Patriots,
and continuing to play this bad when we know that you're a much better coach. But again, great coaches always have stars. So he has had a star since who? Kawhi Leonard. Right?
That was the last one. Yeah, that was the last star in San Antonio.
The last one. So it's been over 10, 15 years? Almost?
Yeah, and they've been tanking and all this tanking to get the European players, and what has it got?
Right. And so again, my thing is after this long, it's like, what is your plan? What are you doing? Because I don't see y'all getting better at all anytime soon. So yeah, I'm with you on that. Yeah.
Uh-oh, Dorian, I just thought about something. You said, what is Pop doing? I just thought about something. So we know what San Antonio, their history, what they've done. They like to go, Pop likes to go get players from the international players. Keep that in mind. Pop also was a coach on the U.S. Olympic team, right?
Yeah.
So he gets to see all these different players, especially the players he brings from overseas in Europe. So when you look at the Spurs players, some of their star players, and some of the international players that they brought over, to me, it looks like Popovich and the Spurs are being used. I shouldn't say being used, but they're part of the NBA's plot, as I've always been saying, to transition the NBA into this new international game, like we saw with this in-season game and these stupid rules with the international rules that they just had this year. I think Popovich and the San Antonio Spurs are being used for that platform or that segue into this new realm of the NBA that I don't think any of us really wanted to see.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a piece of chalk in your mouth?
No,
so I don't know what's going on with San Antonio. Popovich needs to just go on and call it quits, ride up to the sunset, go play golf with Bill Belichick. Who's my man up in Seattle that just got fired? Pete Carroll. All them guys just need to go hang out and play some golf somewhere. But moving on along, because we got like 30 minutes left in our show. I'm going to skip this and I'm going to leave something for last because that's coming up later. Get right into it, a quick update. Dorian, I got it. Man, I'm just going to have to call you and say you turn on your TV and you're going to watch 3 fights with me. UFC 297 reaction last week. I can't say, Dab, you didn't miss too much last week. Duplessis versus Sean Strickland, slight work for the South African. So Duplessis, he's from South Africa. Bad dude, tough dude. This is leading into the next big fights with Kamiev. You don't know all these Russians I'm naming and everything, but ultimately, this is going to lead to the Battle of Africa. And so Duplessis called out our guy. You know who one of the biggest fighters from Africa is, and I'm not talking in his weight class. So they're trying to get together this big old battle for the Battle of Africa. That's going to be the next fight before 298. So a unification of African pride there. So that's all that kind of went down with that. What else happened in UFC 297? It wasn't that good. Pennington took Amanda Nunes' vacated bantamweight belt because Amanda Nunes just gave it up. She's about to retire. She's getting old. That was a rather boring fight. But the craziest stuff, Dorian, and this shows how times have changed when it comes to UFC, which just shocked me. And I wish Rodney was here to see this. This story just took me by far. Out there in your neck of the woods. For those that don't know, Uriah Faber is a former and still is UFC fighter, former champion. He just signed a deal with Sacramento State to start the first MMA programs in college, Dorian.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So anybody out there, if you can't play football, basketball, and none of that, but you can fight your ass off, you might want to go west, young man. Go see Uriah Faber out at Combat U, and that's the name of his dojo or his fight club or whatever. So they just inked the contract with Sacramento State to start the first collegiate sponsored mixed martial arts program. Because we know a lot of schools have wrestling, but there are no colleges that have karate scholarships and all this other stuff, or boxing scholarships. They just combined it all. So I think this is sets a huge precedent. I think this is great for the sport and promoting the sport. And again, you don't see any colleges that have boxing as a program. So I thought this was awesome.
Wrestling, why not MMA?
Right. You have wrestling champs, and a lot of these guys come from wrestling backgrounds like Uriah and some of these other ones, but just combining it all to be able to scrap, oh, man, that was something. So I definitely have to put that up there, especially out there in your neck of the woods. man, send your kids to go fight. They want to be brawlers and all that other stuff, and they're having little problems with all that.
Want to be a brawler, shot caller.
Go to Sacramento County. And then Rodney found this one real quick. I don't have the details on the story. It's unfortunate Rodney couldn't get back to join us, everybody. But Rodney found this, and this was a fantasy football scandal, Dorian. You can pull it up on ESPN. The National Fantasy Football Championship. I'm like, I ain't never heard of that, but damn, it sounds big. It was all on ESPN. But at any rate, so what Rod was saying, one of the employees got fired because they rigged the system, Dorian. So that'd be like me as the commish going in. Basically, the dude went in or girl went in, switched players that already played, got their points, shifted them down, moved them back in on another team. It was very elaborate. The story is pretty long, but for what was it, 6 figures amounts of money involved? There was an investigation involved.
The Hold'em contest featured a $150,000 first prize and attracted 1,521 entries.
That's bad. And it goes too far into details on the elaborate scheme. I was just like, really?
I won $1,000 once some years ago in a fantasy football league.
Speaking of which, shout out to my fantasy league winners up there in Chicago. We got Sean Mack, second place. So I need to be hollering at those boys this week. Yo Ship, Brian Stemmons. Shout out to those guys and those participants. And third place went out to Rizzy, my guy Rizzy out here in Arizona.
My Ship Stemmons is before me.
I missed it, Dorian. What was that?
I said Stemmons is a year before me.
Oh, that's right. That's not your ship.
Yeah, that's not my
correction. Screw you, Stemmons. Nah, what's up, Stemmons, my fellow 49ers? And shout out to who else was one of our 49er fans out there? Who else I said? Oh, Johnny Brooks. And shout out Johnny Brooks.
Johnny Brooks. My little brother Jason Hurd is a big 49ers fan too. Ever since he was little, he's always been a 49ers fan.
See, you need to align yourself with winners.
He didn't start being a Bengals fan until later on in life. But he's always been a 49er fan. So I got to give a shout out to my little brother too.
Right on.
And
I'll get out of here soon. Don't forget, guys, I want y'all to check out our website. Rodney's done it for I don't know if you've been over there lately, Dorian. He's done a fabulous job on actually updating our website. We got to bring those prices down in our swag. I don't know. Nobody's going to pay $30 for a bib, but that's a baby bib, but that's a whole nother story.
I still have to start my Gulliver's Travels thing and put up all the spaces and places that I've been. So are we?
Well, we got a couple more. I just want to remind everybody where they can catch us at and everything. And again, for those, I had a couple people reaching out to me. They couldn't find our show. It is at From the Boogie on YouTube, guys, and you'll get right to Blame It on the Boogie. So it's at From the Boogie on YouTube. Blame It on the Boogie on all other platforms.
Oh, I'm glad to know that. I was trying to tell somebody, and I didn't know how to tell them to go to YouTube to find it. Okay, good.
Yeah, that's why I put that on there. So that's causing a lot of confusion because, like I said, we go by a moniker, Blame It on the Boogie, but we're actually From the Boogie on YouTube, everybody. So get over there, hit that like, subscribe button, and everything else. I just wanted to remind all our followers, with few that we have, we need some more followers and some subscribers in there. But what I wanted to bring us into to end the show, because we are 28 days, Dorian, away from my favorite sport, spring training baseball. And our shitty ass Cardinals. By the way, they open up on February 24th, I believe, against the Florida Marlins. I don't know why I know all that and even checking up. I guess I was mainly checking to see if Mosliak was fired, if he would retire or something, step down, because I don't expect anything to happen for the Cardinals. But more importantly, this was the topic that you and Rod wanted to talk about, and I totally agree.
I've been saying it for years.
We all have.
I've been saying it for years.
Crabby baseball writers, go sit down somewhere. Get your asses out of here. Why did this become a story for you, Dorian? Who pissed you off? Who did not make the Hall of Fame ballot for his last time of entry, and he should be in there?
They piss me off every year. They piss me off.
Who didn't get in there this year that really brought this to your attention?
Gary Sheffield.
Exactly.
I am livid. I do not understand in any way, shape, or form why. Well, I do understand. I do know why. It's because the media, because again, it's the Baseball Writers of America.
He wouldn't give them an interview.
Doesn't like Gary Sheffield.
Yep.
They've never liked Gary Sheffield. It's the same way why there's so much vitriol against Barry Bonds. Mm-hmm. Notice that all the vitriol left from Mark McGwire, yet they still forever have vitriol with Barry Bonds. And it's
because Mark McGwire also got a coaching job that, get back into the public's eye.
Well, Barry Bonds eventually did too, but it took McGwire getting the job first. But they never liked Barry Bonds because of his relationship with the media. Gary Sheffield was the same way. And if you're going to have, I guess the problem with this is that you can't take it away. It's never been something that's ever been affiliated with Major League Baseball in terms of officially affiliated with Major League Baseball. The Major League Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, I don't think it has any direct affiliation with Major League Baseball in that kind of sense. It's a real informal, kind of unofficial kind of relationship. So I don't know how you can change this to make it more objective. In the same way that you may have a basketball Hall of Fame or a football Hall of Fame. I love the way that they do it in the football Hall of Fame. I don't know. I have to look up more about how they're chosen in the Hockey Hall of Fame. That would be a good subject to talk about one day, is how all these Hall of Fames judge their members. But the subjectivity and the bias through which the members of the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame are chosen, I think is ridiculous. And this takes nothing away from Adrian Beltre, who I thought was very deserving of the Hall of Fame. Doesn't take anything away from Joe Mauer. Doesn't take anything away from Todd Helton. But to act like Gary Sheffield should not be in the Hall of Fame is a travesty. It's a travesty.
That list of names that you just mentioned there, Gary Sheffield definitely, perhaps Todd Helton. Who are the other ones?
It's Todd Helton, Joe Mauer, and
Joe Mauer. What Joe Mauer was he? What, pitcher? Joe Mauer, pitcher?
He was a catcher for Minnesota for the Twins. And then
wait, was he on Kirby Puckett's team? On that team with Kirby Puckett? Was he older? I can't remember Joe
Mauer. Joe Mauer was much younger than those old. He didn't even play on that 91.
And that's why I brought his name up. I don't recall him. Why is he even on the ballot?
He was a catcher. He was a catcher first, and then they went as his knees got bad or whatever. They moved him to first base. Now, Joe Mauer was an all-star. Joe Mauer was great. Joe Mauer has a 306 lifetime batting average.
Okay.
He had hit 143 home runs. He didn't even have 1,000 RBIs. But again, they don't necessarily expect all catchers.
And how long did he play?
Joe Mauer played for like 13, 14 years.
So 13 to 14 years. He never got to the 1,000 RBI in that 13 to 14 years. And when you stack it, the reason why I said that, I can remember, especially a catcher. That's one thing. He's a catcher. But if you put his numbers up against other catchers, then maybe he's there. But hell, if you're going to put Joe Mauer in the Hall of Fame, you might as well put our guy in the Hall of Fame right now.
Well, see, this is the thing. If we talk to be removed, if we talk about stats, because it doesn't have to be a certain number like it does in the NFL Hall of Fame. The NFL Hall of Fame, there's only a certain number that they put in. Major League Baseball, you can put in as many as you want. But it's like this. Joe Mauer, like I said, I'm excluding Adrian Beltre. Or I'm gonna put him in just for comparison's sake. All right. So if I look at
way better numbers, Adrian Beltre definitely had way better numbers than Mauer. But again, Mauer played catcher. So
Yeah,
I think that's why he's getting in, because of the position he played.
He ended up being first base. Yeah, because he's one of the best catchers. You know, they consider him one of the best catchers ever. All right, but so Adrian Beltre, and this is why, like I say, you exclude Adrian Beltre or whatever. But anyway, he had a career 286 batting average. He hit 477 home runs, had 1,707 RBI.
Hall of Fame.
Now, Joe Mauer had a career batting average of 306, 143 home runs, 923 RBIs. Todd Helton was a career 316 hitter. He had 1,406 RBIs and 369 homers.
In Colorado, mainly. In Colorado, mainly, too.
Gary Sheffield had a career 292 batting average. He had 1,676 RBIs, 253 stolen bases, and
that part,
and 509 homers.
And 509 homers and the stolen bases, and this man is still getting hosed. Exactly. Yeah. So to me, they need to get rid of the baseball writers. They should not have any part of the voting. I would rather the fans and the coaches and former coaches be able to vote for a Hall of Fame, as opposed to these decrepit ass baseball writers. That reminds me of that writer we talked about.
The players too. I think the players should be involved, because it's not to say that the players that are in the Hall of Fame aren't deserving to be in the Hall of Fame, but there are a whole bunch of people who are being kept out of the Hall of Fame who should be in the Hall of Fame. And I think that one of the best judges of the people that played in the league, of the people who should be in the Hall of Fame, are the people who are in the Hall of Fame. They should be able to judge, because those are their peers. Those are the people they play with. They really understand the game. So I'm with you. And it's not that I don't think that the baseball writers couldn't have some part in this, but they should not be the only ones that are choosing people, because it is obvious that they are biased. Again,
for a writer, though, for a baseball writer to cast his vote, a writer basically is doing the same thing you just did. He's going to go look at those stats and compare them. But then when you look at the stats and compare them, you obviously know that that's where the biases come in. Because like you said, I couldn't get an interview. A writer's looking at stats. It's the eye test and it's the stat test. You saw Gary Sheffield out there dominating. But because like I said, I didn't get an interview, Beast Mode. Yeah, he was always ready to go. He was just fidgety up there at the plate. Yeah, he was ready to go. So it was like you said, it was all spite when it came to Gary Sheffield. I would equate Gary Sheffield to kind of like Beast Mode when he was in Seattle. I'm just here to do the interview so I don't get fined.
Bruh, I'm gonna put it like this. This is how I feel about this. Think about this. I've said this before, and I'm gonna keep repeating it. The bias of the Hall of Fame voters is significant in the fact that up until Sandman, there was never a unanimous vote for a player to the Hall of Fame. So please tell me who it was that said Babe Ruth didn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. Please tell me who it was that said Hank Aaron didn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. Please tell me who said Willie Mays didn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame on the first ballot. Who said that? How could you possibly look at Babe Ruth, Hank Aaron, Willie Mays, Cal Ripken, Johnny Bench, any of the players that are in the Hall of Fame, Ty Cobb? How could you look at any of them and say, nah, I can't vote for Lou Gehrig. He shouldn't be a Hall of Famer. No, I can't vote for Joe DiMaggio. That is the dumbest thing in the world. That is hubris. That is hubris at its finest. That is
what we should do?
Arrogance at its finest.
I got an idea. You know what we should do? We should look up, because once those votes go public, right? Because this shows the baseball writers who voted for who, right? They still.
I'm not sure.
They used to do that. They used to show which baseball writers voted for who and everything else. So when those ballots come out, when everything's said and done, we should look up the writers who had a vote and research them and critique them and do a ranking of the writers and do our own Hall of Fame of baseball writers, and to see if we can kind of differentiate from some of the bias and some of the legitimate writers.
Okay, this is what this says. So it says that from the BBWAA election rules, Baseball Hall,
Baseball Writers Association. Yeah.
Well, no, it's called baseballhall.org for those that may want to go look at it.
Oh, okay. That's what the BBW, Baseball Writers.
Yeah, it says the names of those BBWAA members casting Hall of Fame ballots are made public with the election results. However, an individual's ballot will not be revealed by the Hall of Fame. So it tells you who voted, but it won't tell you who they voted
for, which is the bullshit. And that's how you weed out these individuals if they were put on blast.
And to answer our other question, from baseballhall.org, again, about the baseball museum facts. It says the Baseball Hall of Fame is an independent, nonprofit educational institution dedicated to fostering an appreciation of the historical development of baseball and its impact on our culture by collecting, preserving, exhibiting, and interpreting its collections for a global audience. So
it's independent. So somebody getting paid off to either put people in or not put people in.
Right. Major League Baseball doesn't have anything to do with it. It's its own independent entity. They can put in the Baseball Hall of Fame what they want to put in the Baseball Hall of Fame. In the museum.
So with that being said, if it's independent, maybe we need to petition the Baseball Hall of Fame to stop using, like we talked about here, baseball writers' votes, because they can be biased. Go back to the fans. If they're independent, eliminate them. Because that leads to, you could have a lot of collusion if the Hall of Fame is independent, but you got these guys voting, and who's to say, if it's too bad that our guy didn't go pay off somebody, big time writer or whatever, these guys could be getting money under the table to vote for certain people or not vote for certain people, because the Baseball Hall of Fame has no idea because they're independent. They're just going to take the ballots, and the ballot says, based on what these guys said, here it is. Right. There's a problem with that. There needs to be more transparency. It's almost like the NBA with the referees' report cards, or the NFL with their report cards. I think the NBA is worse, but this whole voting and stuff, you got to take it out the hands of people that basically can make or break someone's career and off of allegations or anything else. The pen is mightier than the sword, as they say. And we see this every day. Like I said, clickbait, writing certain stories about different people, and that just damages them forever.
Yeah.
So, But with that, brother, that's all I got. That's it. I want to finish up on baseball because we're coming into my favorite sport to see what's going to happen. You got any final notes? Next week? No. What's going on next week? Nothing?
All I can say is right now, I am watching the first semifinal of the Australian Open. Center from Italy, or it's probably Sine from Italy, is playing Djokovic, and he's beating Djokovic right now 2 sets. They in the third set. Sine, I don't know if it's Sinner or Sine. Again, his name is Italian, so it may have some accent on it. I haven't heard anybody say his name.
You mean like Boutte?
He is up. He's up 2 sets to none right now. They're in the third. It's tied in the third 5-5. But he won the first 6-1, 6-2.
Oh my God. How could I forget? Speaking of Australian Open, shout out, but it's unfortunate. Coco Gauff, she lost.
Lost in the semis today.
Yeah, she lost in the semis today. She was on the streak, lost to the girl that beat her last year. So definitely want to give a shout out to Coco. And then, speaking of hockey, which you haven't been covering, and because I don't know how you didn't see this story that happened out here. What was that yesterday, Dorian? The Panthers and the Coyotes. Did you see how that game started?
No.
With the face-off. You got to look it up. And it started off with a scrap.
Although I will say I actually did watch the Carolina Hurricanes and the Boston Bruins the other day, because Boston is again tops in the league. They're behind the pace, but still right on the pace to have the best record as they at most points as they did a couple of years ago or last year when they ended up losing. But so I watched that game the other day. Carolina pulled it out 3-2, so I watched that one.
So Dorian,
I haven't been on my grind like I'm supposed to be.
Yeah, you got to go watch that. And the reason I bring it up because you remember our fans and everybody that follows. Remember we talked about the story with the hockey incident with the brother, with the death on ice, if you will, right, and all that. But it brought back the whole point. Hockey is the only sport in the world where you are allowed to fight. Everywhere else you get suspended, kicked out, red cards, blah, blah, blah. But it's condoned in hockey. And that's why if you get a chance, go pull up that video. That's how the game started yesterday. The face-off with a scrap. And that was a follow-up from a previous game. So they already knew what was going on.
Yeah, they knew. And that's the thing is crazy is oftentimes when that happens at the beginning of the game, the referees, the officials already know it's about to happen. They already
know what's going down. They already know this was a revenge. They already know
they fighting. As soon as we drop the puck, it's about to be a fight. Some of them cats be taking their gloves off before they even drop the puck. They know it's about to be a fight.
So you see the hypocrisy in that, all the negative criticism that the brother had got for an accident in a violent game where they're allowed to fight and everything else. And here you go. So let's just say in this face-off during this fight that's condoned and everybody was awaited for, somebody gets punched, falls down, hit their head on ice. Now the NHL is on the hook because they condone violence in their own sport.
Yeah.
But they wanted to throw a brother in jail for accidental death on the ice. So on that note, guys, I think it's a good time to end. Dorian, D Almighty out in Richmond. Shout out to Rodney, who had to break off from us. Geechee Dan out here in ASU, out here in Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona. Oh, by the way, guys, don't forget, next month is getting close. We talked about it. Final Four is here in Phoenix.
We'll see.
The earlier we can look up tickets, the cheaper they'll be.
Yep, that's very true. Yeah,
very true, because nobody's thinking about college basketball right now.
Yeah,
literally.
You're right.
But on that, any final notes before we get out of here? Y'all know what to do. Click subscribe and everything else. If you didn't like what Rodney had to say about Justin Fields getting traded, which I don't know what's up with that. You got our outro, our moniker. If you don't like what we got to talk about, D.
Yeah, hold on. Oops, wrong thing. Wait a minute. Where you at?
Uh-oh.
I gotta find it.
Don't let him do it.
Wait a minute. I gotta find it. Wait a minute.
Oh my God. Anyway, if y'all don't like the fact that Dorian takes forever to find shit, just send us an email, but he don't care, so you can
kiss it. I'm supposed to be looking for it beforehand.
You should already have it.
Anyway.
On that note, brother, I shot at you later this week.
Don't blame it on sunshine. Don't blame it on the moonlight. Don't blame it on the good times. Blame it on the boogie. Don't blame it on the sunshine.